talk about fun things for the students to do. So we'll hold that till she gets here.
I know a good way we can stall
What?
the birthday. Well, we have to do that one.
Okay.
Never mind.
So,
No, it's all right.
so we're gonna introduce Dr. Rebecca Kauten. Dr. Kauten is our scientist in residence and experiential coordinator. So she is tasked with bringing new research to the lab, helping to mentor our students and our interns that we have. We have 31 interns this summer, which is really exciting, doing a variety of projects that she's going to talk about. Rebecca has a long history with research. She finished her PhD at the University of Iowa in Geographical and Sustainability Sciences in 2019.
Pre-pandemic.
Huh?
Pre-pandemic.
Before that, she worked for the Iowa DNR doing urban water quality monitoring and was the Dry Creek Project Coordinator. I can say that. Dry Run Creek Project Coordinator. So she's got a long history with research and a variety of activities. She has her own fen. She probably won't talk about that. But she has a fen in northeast Iowa, which is really exciting. So when we have the after party, be sure to ask her about her fen. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Rebecca Kauten.
Can you all hear me okay? Yes, this is working? Excellent. Okay. Yes, and I thank you all for coming here tonight. I know some of you kind of have to because you live here right now. But for those of you who made the trip in, thank you so much for joining us tonight. As Mary said, my background in research and water quality and all kinds of crazy things goes back quite a long ways. I realized not too long ago that it was 15 years ago, next month, was the first time I ever became an employee of Dr. Mary Skilbeck. So we have a long-standing history as well. Today is a day that I'm really happy to share the information about the different projects that are going on here at Lakeside. But before I get into my contribution to the evening, I have one small favor to ask of all of you. Today is also my father's 80th birthday. And you only turn 80 once if you're lucky, right? So I would like, and I'm hoping, I've contacted relatives, they should be watching this. So if you're out there, Dad, this one's for you. I'm going to ask, his name is Bill. So if you sing happy birthday, Bill, for me, I would be very, very grateful and it will make his day. So if on a count of 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bill. Happy birthday to you. I don't send cards. I do stuff like that. I think that's a little better. So thank you very much. So Dad, I love you. That's for you. So what are we doing here this summer, right? This is what I'm here to tell you a little bit about, and in doing so, I want to share with you a bit of a backstory of how we got to where we are today over the last, 2 years of a little bit of craziness. I don't know how your last 2 years have been, but for a lot of people, it's been a little weird. Right? So I want to walk you through, if you haven't been a part of the Lakeside experience over the last couple of years, what we've been doing, right? And that lead into what we're doing today and what we hope to be able to bring to you at the end of the summer here. And my slides are not, there we go. Okay, and in doing so, this is our acknowledgement of land and sovereignty here as our Board of Regents facility, as acknowledgement of the sovereignty and traditional territories of the people who came here long before us. This is a very special place. This is a very sacred place, and it has been for a very, very long time. And it is really important for all of us to remember that. For those of you, the 31 of you, it's the first time I've said that out loud, the 31 of you who are here with us this summer to understand how special this place has been for people for generations well beyond our own. And understanding that we here at Lakeside do seek to engage in building meaningful relationships of value to all people, right? To everyone who has come and gone, and the people who are yet to arrive here as well. That is something that we take very seriously here through scholarship, through partnerships, through community service, that the people on the landscape here who have come and gone matter, right? And it's really important that we acknowledge that, and we express this in the hopes that you acknowledge it as well. That said, you've heard my job title. I'm your scientist in residence. That's what I do. I want to tell you a bit about who I am as well. So I have a little map up here that shows Dickinson County, that shows the little yellow triangle of where we're sitting right now. This is home base for everyone for the next 12 weeks. My home base is that blue rectangle, the Black Hawk County in northeast Iowa, and yes, the Fen is in Fayette County, so we're in northeast Iowa as well. I'm a lifelong Midwesterner. I can't say I've lived in Iowa all my life, but pretty close. But I do have, I would say I'm kind of a mixed breed when it comes to my work, both academic, non-academic, worked in agencies, nonprofits, done a lot of different things. It's all kind of circled back to data and science and social factors related to the environment, and that's what's kind of brought me here in many ways. So I'm kind of a hybrid scientist, if you will. So I do social science, I do some physical science, and to me that culminates in what I call myself as an environmental geographer. Right? This is who I am, right? And this frames the work that I do. But how we got here collectively over the last couple of years is what I really want to talk about tonight. Right? The last year really was what brought us back together, right? I gave this talk almost a year ago. It'll be a year ago tomorrow was when I gave this talk last year, and thinking about, how many of you were here last year as interns? And thinking of your experience of being online, hybrid coursework, and then all of a sudden coming here and there's 70 people in the dining hall. And I remember one of you leaning over to me on the first day when we were doing coffee and grounds, just going, "This is really weird." I'm like, "Oh, I know." It's really weird for all of us because we're all starting to get back into feeling whatever normal is now, right? And so this has really been the year that brought us back together, right? And we had student projects that took off last year that connected to some of the history and some of the long-standing work that's been going on here, and continuing some of those existing studies. And we've also opened up the door for other opportunities, right? We have scientists here, we have artists here, we have everything in between, we have community members here. And being able to take advantage of those opportunities is really what this is all about, especially for those 31 of you in here, to say, what do you want to make of this summer? What do you want to make of this experience? And what I want you to think about tonight is that. What do you want this to be for you? So a year ago, Mary and I would always joke about how we were waking up from a coma and then running a marathon for the next 12 weeks. That was our lakeside experience. It was intense, right? It was it wasn't necessarily new things, but it was that muscle memory of engagement that we lost when we were all attached to a screen for 18 months. And now we're in the field, and we're in the field with lots of people, and riding in vans and vehicles with lots of people, which we hadn't done for a really long time, and it came with a lot of different challenges. So reconnecting some of those pieces was really what last year was really all about. But getting people back out together, right? Instead of all of these solitary experiences that we had over the last the 2 years prior, this place is really about bringing people together. And what I want to share with you tonight is a bit of information about some of the projects that we, in some cases, launched last year or continued, and where we're looking at going this year. And if there's opportunities for folks to plug in as part of their internship while they're here, if there's faculty from other institutions, which I see here, and there are opportunities to plug them in, that would be fantastic also. But I'm going to talk about some keystone projects like our Great Lakes Recreation Study, the Nebelfen Restoration Project. We got off the ground it's ironic that it's online, but it's meant to be a low-tech and no-technology content provider for grades 6 through 12 teachers, looking at our general water quality studies, biodiversity, and some of the things we do around campus and around town. So the study that brought me here as your scientist in residence was this Iowa Great Lakes Recreation Study. We launched that in the summer of 2020 when not many things were happening in the world. But we were able to start collecting data, which we're going to continue to do, We're going to follow the same path. Some of you who are with us on Friday this week will get firsthand experience of collecting some of that observational data. But we were also doing qualitative analysis, looking at surveying people in the community. And some of you who've been to other presentations about this know about this project, but a lot of you in here don't. But we're looking at the attitudes and perceptions related to on-water recreation, right? As summer progresses, as the bay fills up and empties again from week in and week out, there's a lot of flux and there's a lot of community dynamics. We're trying to just get a handle on what people think about all of that. But we had a study in 2020 as well as 2021 where we were surveying community members about this and comparing those attitudes, comparing perceptions between owners, renters, so people who are long-time residents and short-time residents. The biggest gap in our data, and this is the goal for this summer, is to collect information from the younger demographic. It's hard to get young people to do surveys unless it's a game, right? Unless it's an app, unless it's something fun, it's really, really challenging to get young people to do a survey. You ask an older person to do a survey, I think I've done surveys for less than a Tootsie Roll, right? That I'm sure I'll do your survey. When I'm a data scientist, I love doing surveys, of course. I'm helping you do science. Young people don't do surveys. So we have a new survey developed. It's much shorter. It's a little bit more game-based than focusing on many of the details that we would ask other people, but we're getting to the heart of the same questions that we were asking in our longer survey. And the focus is on My Greatest Lake. Using it as more of a campaign than a research project to say, tell us what's your greatest lake, what's your favorite place, where do you like to do things and what do you like to do? And we're going to be rolling that out pending IRB approval. And I'm hoping in June, I guarantee we're going to have it out in July, but June I want this to roll out as a public survey tool. So if you see somebody, especially if they're under the age of 31, tell them to play take our little survey. They can vote for their favorite place and what they like to do there. But other research goals that we have related to that project focus on maintaining our weekly observational data. We send people out with binoculars and they count the number of boats in the bay and they count the number of people in the bay, and they do it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they do it on Wednesday as a control. Right? So Wednesday, we don't anticipate seeing too many people out here. 4th of July, we see a lot of people out here. So practicing your counting is a good skill if you're an intern at Lakeside Lab. But we also want to broaden that overall sample population, right? We want to be able to get a broader assessment of the community of all ages and all demographics that we're able to sample, so if they're over the age of 18. We want to be able to compare that data set from this summer with what we've collected previously. Right, so the instrument was designed in a way to be able to be comparable to the data we already have and leverage some of the different tools that we have available to us, whether it's statistical analysis, whether it's developing different graphics and visualizations to be able to share this information with the public. Another project that really started during the pandemic, I mean the fall of 2019 was when we got our first data points at the Nepal Fen in northwest Iowa, and I like to say we've gotten a lot of big press for a very little project. This was literally just an idea that turned into a field trip that became a bit of a project, and next thing you know, we've had 2 stories run on Iowa Public Radio the last 2 years. We had almost 100 people log on in December of 2021 to listen to John Pearson from Iowa DNR, John Paulin from Natural Resource Conservation Service, and myself talk about fens. It was supposed to be a 40-minute session. I think we went for almost 2 hours. It was crazy, and they all stayed on. It was amazing. It was super fun. In the middle of December, it was a cold, stormy December night. People were really happy to look at pictures of prairie. But this project has been kind of taking on a life of its own, which is awesome. We've got students here. How many of you have been to the Nepal Fen? All right, so we've got a few who've been. You're going back. We're going to be, and if you didn't raise your hand, you're going to probably get there too. So we're continuing this study to be able to, we didn't do the restoration. I always like to tell people that. We did not do the actual restoration work. All we're doing is observing the effects, right? This is a crazy project. Literally nobody in the world that we can find in any peer-reviewed literature has ever done anything like this restoration project. To try to bring a fen of this size and scale back to being a fen, it hasn't been done. And so being able to track this over time is pretty cool. In 2019, there was a huge drainage ditch that was sending all of the water out of this fen down to the Des Moines River. In 2021, that area was now filled back in. It's been stabilized. There's vegetation coming in. The summer of 2020, despite being a drought still, we were starting to see water filling in the gaps, basically, where it was reconstructed. And Ms. Ashley Cleve, who was one of our interns, took on a gravimetric sample soil monitoring project to look at the remnant in blue and the restoration area in brown and track over the course of the summer what was happening with soil moisture. And David Hebring was our GIS technician helping with mapping this data. And I hope you can see a pattern here, that you can see things coming back to life. And my biggest hope is of the 31 of you who are here this summer, that somebody wants to help continue this project. I really don't want to see this go away. I want to be able to monitor this site as long as I can stand on two legs. So if somebody is interested in plugging into that project, let me know. We're glad to have you, yes. Another project that we have that's been funded by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, Resource Enhancement and Protection Program, also known as REAP, again, was born out of the pandemic, right? It was talking to teachers who teach math and science saying, I cannot get fundamental concepts across to students over the internet. And so what we are trying to do with the grant that we have is put together, and we're not showing the video, don't worry. I see everybody there. This is just an example. But we're developing a series of videos that, ironically, the videos will be delivered digitally, but the activities, the experiments, the demonstrations that relate to fundamental math, science, physics, chemistry concepts don't need a device. And preferably, you should be outside when you're doing them. Right? So these are things that we've got folks working on here on campus. Michael, you can wave. He's here from UNI, University of Northern Iowa's Digital Media Program. I'm going to give a shout out to them shortly too. But we have a few folks that are interns with us who are either pre-service or in-service teachers. And we also have a STEM extern who's going to be working with us on that project too. And the objective is to have standardized lesson plans aligned with science standards and Common Core, that there are key learning objectives, and again, the media content. So we've got our crew. I have this lovely glow coming from our media experts here sharing their talents and their tools. So yes, University of Northern Iowa is who we can thank for the digital media production assistant that we have this summer. So Dr. Francesca Sones and some of her colleagues were able to promote our project, and we were able to get Michael. Dr. Barb Ehlers, who is emeritus faculty at Upper Iowa University. She's our external evaluator. She's also involved in environmental issues instruction. If you know any teachers who've gone through that training, she's evaluating the quality of our program. So we want to make sure what we create has rigor, right? So we've got what we hope are a solid team of experts working on it, and we're looking for people to help test things out this summer. We're also working on a podcast. We've got media folks here, we've got devices, we've got the internet, we've got a new network here. So leveraging our resources and taking advantage of 21st century tools. I've already interviewed a few of our Lakeside faculty. I'll be interviewing more. We might be interviewing some of the 31 people, so consider yourself alarmed. To be featured in one of our podcast episodes, which will be coming. So stay tuned on that. But to talk briefly about some of these other projects, and again, my main audience from here on out is the 31, right? The people in the room, the rest of the community. It is really important for you to know these projects are ongoing, but I want you folks as interns to know these are projects you can plug into. If you're looking for a project, if you're working with me tomorrow in King Lab, we meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We've got someone coming to talk to us about a big project actually, so hopefully you're there for that if you're not doing other things or you're not in class. But we've got runoff and nutrient sampling that is a partnership with the University of Iowa's Institute for Hydroscience Research. That's been an ongoing project for the last couple of years where we're doing surface water monitoring from about 20 different locations around the Iowa Great Lakes region. Someday we'll have a talk on that, we'll show the map, we'll show the data, but I don't want to bog you down with data tonight. I can do that, and I don't want to do that tonight. Our watershed management projects, we have one that's been going on with Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation up on Big Spirit Lake. Also, the Iowa Great Lakes Sanitary District, we've been working with them on assessing both physical and biological conditions of Milford Creek, so the stream that basically the entire lakes basin drains through. And opportunities for projects related to where I'm just calling emerging contaminants and treatments. So things that fall through the cracks sometimes, thinking about things like chloride, looking at, what kinds of chemicals might leach into the water when there's fireworks going off every weekend over a water body. We've had some folks in the community who are curious about that. If anybody's interested in that, that's a potential project you could plug into. We've had looking at biochar, looking at the effects of biochar as a treatment mechanism. We were just talking about that today, about not only the effects of the water quality treatment, but what are the conditions of the treatment mechanism after it sits for 9 months. Does that become something we need to worry about? So there's questions out there we want to answer. The beach monitoring and algal toxins is deeply rooted in the history of the Iowa DNR beach monitoring program, which Mary used to supervise in its development, and linking beach monitoring and public health. We've had students who've come through over the last several years who've done projects related to that, an honors thesis that came out of that for the University of Iowa. Again, if that's your jam, if that's something you're interested in, we can plug you into that. We have a citizen science water quality monitoring program here that has lasted longer than any other citizen science water monitoring program in the state of Iowa. We have a lot of data. You could sample, you could do the analysis. I mentioned the data dashboard. I don't know if any of you ever followed your county's public health record keeping over the last 2 years, but those data dashboards became pretty popular, and there's some really cool tools out there that we have access to now that we can plug things like citizen science data into. And I'm wanting to get some folks that are interested in that as well, so come see me if that's something you'd like to do. We have a lot of options. There's a lot. When I was putting these lists together, I was trying to digest things down as best I could, and we still have a lot of things on the board. We're looking at wildlife projects. If water isn't really your thing and you want to do something more related to wildlife, there's options there too. There's a study that one of the environmental science instructors at Iowa Lakes Community College is looking at blandings turtles. We've got a few folks who've already been out and who have found turtles. I think, Sarah, you found one before Drew did, right? You found two? Even better. Right, so you have the opportunity to do some wildlife monitoring if that's something that you're interested in. We had a study that was conducted last summer looking at zooplankton and with the interest of the effects of zooplankton populations as a result of zebra mussels being introduced in the Iowa Great Lakes. What's awesome about that project is it connects to a study that was done over a course of decades prior to there being zebra mussels in the Iowa Great Lakes region. So we have a longitudinal historical data set that we can compare things to. We got one summer of data. It would be awesome to get more. If somebody's interested in that study, look me up. We've got methods, we've got data, we've got information. We can get you out sampling. We've got sites, right? The whole kit and caboodle. So that's an option too. We'd really like to see these projects continue. We started trapping animals with cameras. Taking photos. There's a piece of land that Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation has been a part of acquiring East Okoboji Lake. And so we had the idea of let's set up some wildlife cameras out there. And not only thinking about who's traipsing through that area during the summertime. My interest is I want to know who the winter visitors are. I want to know who's coming in there when the lake is frozen, and when the water becomes a highway. who's making use of that space. So we've got data there that people can take advantage of. Looking at, and this is the biodiversity at the Dorothy Pico Nature Center. Dorothy Pico Nature Center is in Woodbury County. Woodbury County is not near Lakeside Lab. But this was a project, and I guess I could pose this to folks out in cyberspace too. We started a project in 2020 with an intern who has never set foot on this campus yet, but helped monitor vegetation in a part of the Luss Hills where the folks at Dorothy Pico Nature Center were taking cedars out. And he not only was there on a weekly basis tracking species coming, developing some statistical curves, looking at reestablishment rates, but he also identified a species of Spiranthes that was confirmed as present by Mark Leschke of Iowa DNR that hadn't been identified in that, it wasn't at the site he had been monitoring, it was at another location, but it hadn't been documented for decades. And he was able to go out and do that as a part of his summer experience. In 2020, never actually setting foot on Lakeside's campus, we were still able to make something happen for him. We've got faculty here that are not only teaching people, but they're also conducting their own research. There's a study that University of Iowa faculty are working together on, looking at being able to measure and monitor climate using trees. They're also looking at, I believe, algae blooms and some drone technology, being able to use hyperspectral imagery. There's a study going on with someone from Iowa State University looking at nutrient uptake in native plants and variations there. Dr. Makeda Carville at Upper Iowa University has been looking at microplastics in the Iowa Great Lakes, kind of an interesting study. And again, some of you are already plugged into some of these projects, but if you're not and you're interested in this, those are some of the folks you might want to talk to. We also have initiatives here on campus as well as in the community related to citizen science, including looking at bur oak blight. There's been activities, I believe, related to no boundaries at, is that Spirit Lake? Okoboji. I never know which school it is, thank you. But they have a program at the middle school, thank you, where they're doing science, right? And they're working with Lakeside Lab to do that. We've always got prairie and invasive species management. The Coffee and Grounds crew keeps us looking beautiful around here. We're also going to be doing some seed harvesting this year. I'm hoping we can kick this off this year and again have this be an ongoing project with the Prairie Resource Center down at Brushy Creek, specifically looking for species that you wouldn't capture in a fall combine harvest. So looking at some of the early season bloomers. I've got a species list from Bill Johnson. If you're interested in being a part of that, let me know. I'm hoping we can contribute to their seed supply in ways that it's not easy for them to do without some extra help. We also have ongoing efforts with the Northwest Iowa Food Sovereignty Project, whether it's working with the Hunger Coalition and the food bank, but also there's been some research projects that have happened over the last couple of years looking at, and some of you, if you're working with me as interns this week, we've already talked about the 3 pillars of sustainability. Yes, it's great to focus on the environmental factors, but we have to think about the social and the economic factors as well. So taking these elements into account become a fundamental part of understanding the value of a strong community. Yes, David, you're famous. It's for the drone. Yes, David's standing there too, but for the UAV, excuse me. But we're trying to pay homage to the history of the research that's happened here over the course of the last century or more, but also taking into account the tools that are available to us now that we never used to have before, right? And finding ways to incorporate this whether it's 360-degree camera imagery that we have now to do some virtual tours, using aerial imagery and geospatial modeling and mapping, a lot of GIS and remote sensing work, visual data analysis and infographics. So again, focusing on data science for environmental research, being able to bring that component to the Lakeside experience has been something that's pretty fun and exciting. And using audio and visual media as well. Because again, that opens opportunities not only for field scientists, but artists, right? And people who communicate through other vehicles. And if we can provide data sets for them that opens up a whole new dimension to how we can communicate about the world around us and work with partners in ways we've never really done before. We've had projects that live longer than the 12-week summer, right? And I'm hoping that for some of you that also continues for you as well. If it's a senior thesis, if it's an honors project, if it ends up being a master's project that you want to pursue, we are here as a resource for you, right? And David, who's here tonight, you can say hi if you want to. You don't have to. David started working with me in December. Well, he was an intern last year at Lakeside, but we started working on a project in December. But Olivia Kauten worked with me. She was with us last summer as an intern. We started working together in 2020 during the pandemic, during lockdown. Our first in-person engagement was here on campus. We had been working together online for 8 or 10 months, and we'd never met in person before, and we met here, which was super cool. But I'm very proud to say she is starting this fall as a graduate student in the geography program at University of Northern Iowa, and she's going into it as a co-author of a peer-reviewed publication that we were able to get out. It will be out this summer. That's the kind of stuff we can do if you want to do it, right? The door is wide open. David, I have to give a shout out to your poster. He started working with me over Christmas break, and the timeline of this is mind-boggling to me. He approached me right before Christmas break. Hey, I kind of want to do some stuff. I gave him a list of things. I was figuring it would take about 2 months for him to complete. By about January 10th, I get another email. You got anything else? Yeah. What do you want to do? This was what, April? When you presented this poster?
That was March 24th.
March 24th was when this poster was presented at the Spring Undergrad Research Festival at the University of Iowa. That's quick. That's a quick turnaround to learn to do some hydrologic modeling you've never done before, to do some digitizing, a lot of digitizing in ArcPro, pulling together different tools, a lot of Zoom sessions going through help files. You can navigate a help file, young man, that's good. That's a good skill. I know people twice your age that can't navigate a help file. So, but being able to put data together for a project that is very real and very critical, looking at the impact of potential upgrades to the local wastewater treatment plant. So trying to make smart decisions based on good data is what we're doing here with a very real world project, and being able to rapidly turn around some pretty amazing stuff. Now we're moving in. This is just looking at the urban side of the Milford Creek watershed. Now he's working in SWAT. But you're in class for the next 3 weeks, so I don't know you right now. I'll see you when you come back. But we've been able to present the fruits of our labors, right? So Jack Mason was a student who he was working on the Food Sovereignty Project. He presented a paper, he had a presentation. I also had one for the West Lakes Division of the AAG last fall. It was all virtual. David presented at the University of Iowa Spring Undergraduate Research Festival. He's also going to be presenting at our state water conference. And again, I have to give props to Olivia. She presented at the water conference the year prior. And the student poster competition is usually, and it was, she got 4th place, and all 3 placeholders before her were all grad students. She was a junior, right? And it wasn't, a junior at Coe College, mind you. She's not a junior at our one institution, so don't let that intimidate you. And I also have to really, really, really brag about Ethan Rose. He was the young man who was working at Dorothy Pico Nature Center, identifying sporanthes, getting eaten alive by ticks and chiggers and mosquitoes, and documenting species. And he was awarded an NSF Graduate Research Fellowship this past year. He asked me to be one of his recommendation letter writers, and he told me when he got word of his award that it was the recommendation letters that put him over the top to get his scholarship. And he's working on his PhD now in biology, focusing on being a botanist, a field botanist at that, at Marquette University. And my hope is he comes back here as faculty someday. So that would be the coolest thing ever. So that's a rundown of, now you're laughing because yes, you guys, right? Yeah. So what's happening here? right? And trying to get some legs under what it is we're gonna do for projects. We've got folks taking classes, and those of you who aren't enrolled in classes right now, I want you thinking about what do you want to plug into, right? This has been about hopefully piquing your interest, and if it doesn't fit any of those categories that I've covered, which was quite a bit, we can probably still find something, right? There's still something here for you. But we have, what I'm leading right now is a 2-week research field project boot camp. And this is giving folks an opportunity to figure out what it is you want to explore. It's pretty low risk, if you will, from a research standpoint. Nobody's pressuring you to do this. So you could spend 10 or 12 weeks working on a project and finish up and go, you know what? I don't think I want to do that anymore. Or you could finish up and go, that is amazing. I want to spend the rest of my life doing whatever that is, right? But it gives you that opportunity. It's kind of like trying on shoes, right? Or you're trying on research. You're trying on some of these ideas to see where it takes you, right? And to see what you can learn. But this next week is about just establishing some research questions, putting together a scope of work, your timeline, deliverables, if you need resources, if there's supplies you need. We'll be putting budgets together. I will come to you with budget, and said budget will be a request to support them. And then it's also an opportunity to say, do you want to keep working on this? Is this something that works out for you? Do you want to do a project like some of these other folks? We're here to help you with that, if that's the case. I'm also going to be teaching prairie ecology. I am a weirdo, and I split up my class into 2 separate 2-week segments, why would you do that? Well, when you teach prairie, things are blooming at different times. And I want people to get the full effect of what's happening in Northwest Iowa. So our first session is June 20th to July 1st. Our second session is July 25th to August 5th. So it'll round out the end of the semester. How many prairies did we visit last year, Jamie?
I don't even know. It was over like 20 sites.
I think we were at 27.
Yeah.
27 different prairies ranging from roadside reconstruction to remnants to several state preserves, the big slough, everything in between. Yeah, we were everywhere. So you get to see some cool stuff. It's a fun time. I know I've got a few folks in it. I'm excited for that. You're going to see some neat stuff. You're gonna learn a couple things. For those of you who are not interns, and if you are interested in hearing what all these folks are going to be doing, around August 4th, I think, that was a Thursday, kind of the last Thursday of the full term, we're going to do a report out, and we'll be showcasing what people are up to. So we'll have it in person, but we'll probably do a virtual option, so all of you out in the hinterlands can also see this as well. We'll have posters and papers and presentations. If we could showcase some of those posters at the Blue Water Festival and have a gallery of posters, I think that would be fantastic to be able to share that. We're also going to have some fun. I like fun. We'll have a little organized fun, some enrichment activities for folks. So if you're in a class, you're not in a class, well, if you're in a class, you need to go to class. but if you're here and you're not skipping class, but you want to tag along, if my prairie ecology class, if we have room and you want to go on a field trip, come on in, right? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to be standing in a prairie on a hot day. That's probably the worst thing that's going to happen. But we're also going to be going to, I contacted the USGS's Eros Data Center, and they are open for field trips again after June 1st. If you don't know what that place is, if you've ever used Google Maps and you use the imagery of the Earth, most of that you're looking at is satellite imagery that is being captured at the Eros Data Center in Sioux Falls. And we get to go there and see the big array and see how they collect the data. It's very nerdy and cool. We're going to be doing helping with the bush clover survey that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service does at the Judd Wildlife Area. We just happened upon them last year, and I said, this is fate. We're putting this in the calendar this year. It's one of the 5 federally endangered species in our state, and they do an annual survey, and we're going to be a part of that. So if that's something you want to do, and if you're not an intern and you want to be a part of that, come on along. It'd be great. We're going to be doing, like I said, seed collection and harvesting for the DNR's Prairie Resource Centers. We're going to have a bunch of day trips and experiences with different agencies and organizational partners to just give people the opportunity to spread their wings a bit and try things out and see what fits for you. It might end up being a job. You never know, right? It could be an opportunity that leads to something absolutely amazing. And we could not do any of this without the support that we have from the Friends of Lakeside, from the grants that we've been able to obtain. We've got mini grant from the U of I Office of Sustainability, our REAP grant. We got a teeny tiny grant from the Iowa Native Plant Society that made everything at Nipplefend possible that we've been doing, which is awesome. And we've got some support now from the Iowa Great Lakes Sanitary District as well. And I am really excited for this summer. I am so happy to see you all here in person. I hope you have a marvelous time here. You learn a few things and you want to come back for more. And I will leave you with that and take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Questions for Rebecca? I can't believe it's only Tuesday of the first week.
Why do you own a fen?
That's a wonderful question. I don't own it. My parents own it. My family owns it. It's on our family farm. It's a long story. It's a long story. Ask me after we're done here. I'll tell you all at the reception. Yeah, it has a lot to do with farming and economics. That's a great question.
Other questions?
Yeah.
Can you talk more about what's going on at Anglers Bay?
You know what? I could,
Yeah.
but I have somebody from the Iowa DNR coming to King Lab tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. to do exactly that.
I suppose I can wait.
Absolutely. No, that is a thank you for the plug. So when people ask, what are we doing tomorrow? That.
Cool.
That is the first thing we're doing. There's a restoration project that's going on that the Iowa DNR is very actively engaged with. And they're looking for partners, and they're looking for projects and folks that want to monitor things and do all kinds of field work out there. And Dustin will join us in the morning, so we're on it. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Okay. I know. It's one of those things where I can talk about it, but it really needs to come from the person who's leading the project. So I'll save that. I'll save his thunder.
Yeah, online people can Google Anglers Bay.
Yes, you can Google Anglers Bay, Iowa DNR, yeah. And there's a whole thing out there, yes. And you all could look at that too, yes. Any other questions? Yeah.
Another question, but I'm a community person, obviously
Yeah.
not an intern.
You could be.
That's true. Actually, if I was this age, I would go into science now. I love it. I took a course through the University of Minnesota Extension on ecological restoration this winter. And it was awesome. And now I want to be a scientist, but I'm 70. It seems too late. But anyway, we have a beach association just across the bay. And we've been doing a restoration on well, we call it a wetland, but after my coursework, I think maybe it's a wet meadow. And it's very dry right now. So it was very wet when we started, and now it's very dry. But if you want any firsthand, you want to come walk around, you want to look at it, you want to do anything, we got a lot of thistles. We're working on weed control this
I want to come see
summer.
it.
That'd be awesome.
Then we'll see 28 birds.
I've had a lot of help from Lakeside Lab on the project. Matt Fairchild, he's still here, right?
Of course, he's in the room.
What if we yeah.
I just walked out.
Okay. Which was great. We really appreciate the support from Mary, and it's coming along. I think I also learned that it's not a two-year project, it's a decade-long project. And I hope that it looks nice by the time I die. That's my goal. But I also want to attract turtles, and I have no idea how to do that. So if anybody wants, there's a turtle project. Because one of the homeowners that's kind of like, not that supportive, he's like, I've never seen a turtle here. And I was like, by God, there's going to be a turtle here.
We have a planter out on the porch.
And buy one.
You can just put the planter out there and do a frog in.
My little walk.
So anyway, that's my plug.
Awesome, yeah. We
We
all love
also
to come see you.
also pay people to pull thistles, so.
There you
if
go.
you're looking for a little cash.
But I think
Bounty, a thistle bounty.
Rebecca can talk a little bit about, I think we're hoping to have some field trips that include community members as well.
Okay.
So that it doesn't just have to be students. So if people want to go look at prairie stuff, I mean, there's going to be opportunity for community members to come along.
Yes,
Okay,
come on
that'd be
along,
awesome.
please do. We've gone, last year we did a day trip to the Les Hills. I took folks down, we had lunch at Carl Kurtz's house and got to see his prairie that he has restored that
Oh, I've been
looks,
there.
yeah, it's outstanding. You feel like you've stepped back 300 years. It's the most amazing place. Carl, if you're watching, I want to come again. Yeah, the Prairie Resource Center, we'll be going down there a couple of times. We're actually going to probably be going there in early June, if you're not in class and you want to go down and see that place where the seed is harvested for the public land projects. Come on along to that. We're going to go again in probably June or July too. All right.
So you want to just stand up and give people a chance to think of one last question then? The one thing I will say is, we really appreciate everything Rebecca does, managing all the interns and 30-some projects and all the things happening is a big job. And so she's kind of a whirling dervish of activity and ideas. And again, you know, we're really here to help find funding for you. Thank you, friends that have been really supportive. We've taken a big leap forward. We are excited about where we're going. So stay tuned. I'm going to pull Emma Cody up if is she here? There she is. Emma wanted to talk a little bit about the fun things for the students to do, the rest of you. And many of these things, the community can also participate in.
You can be an intern at 70.
You can be an intern.
I want to be an intern.
I'm going to put a little plug in. We are working very closely with the Millers Bay Conservancy. It's not Little Millers Bay. The Millers Bay Conservancy, which is a newly formed group, they're going to hold an ecotourism day. So there's going to be some kayak and canoe instruction. There's going to be some tours in the bay. So, you know, pay attention to our Facebook and our website. We're going to do some ecotourism thing with our local partners. Emma, you want to talk? This is Emma. Emma Cody. She was the star of one of our low-tech, no-tech videos. And she's our resident assistant here at Lakeside. And she's just going to talk a little bit about what we got going on for fun stuff. So if you're not an intern, I'm sorry, but you can come slackline if you want to.
Thank you, you got into my first point.
Oh, sorry.
Slackline is up. So if anybody wants a slackline, that's totally up for everybody. So I'm gonna cover the social activities and events that we have going on at Lakeside. Some of them are just campus-based, but other ones a lot of the community members can engage in and have been really popular in years past. Interns, the volleyball court is cleared. Thank you all for helping me and playing on it. That was super awesome. So anyone is free to use that. There's a little box next to the court that has the ball in it. Just remember to put the rock back on it so the wind doesn't blow up the
There's
top.
only one ball.
Yeah, only one. I am going to be having tea times with me on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4:30 to 6. So if you guys want to chill in a room with AC and heat and free snacks, and a lizard. I have a bearded dragon. Please come hang out with me and do that. I am going to be gone this Saturday, but we might be having a documentary night this weekend. Something that is environmentally focused. I will be taking suggestions. So the more suggestions I get on something, the more likely to consider. And we do have some, rental equipment that you guys are free to use. So bikes, again, kayaks, canoes. We got a new set of free weights. Those are going to be in the garage next to the bikes. And so those are free for you guys to use. The more community-based activities that we have is we are going to be doing Wild Wednesdays like we did last year. And those are going to be a community engagement on a Wednesday still, right? Okay, still Wild Wednesdays. So the community is more than welcome to come for those. That is where interns and faculty and anybody on Lakeside campus displays a certain skill that they have. Last year we did foraging, we did fish cleaning, We had flower crowns and constellations and a bunch of different.
Not tying.
Not tying, yes, not tying was a good one. That was fun. So please come to those. We love engaging with the community. We love to see you guys there. And we love to get ideas from the community as well because we want to know how to serve your interests best. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening, and we have these every Tuesday. Also, this is the other community engagement that we have. Every Tuesday we have a lecture of some kind, and then after this we have not a name for it yet, but a reception-y type thing in the library, which is just to the well, it's the right of me, but the left of you.
It's on your way back to the park.
Yep, just down the sidewalk, and those, again, free refreshments and free snacks and a chance to engage with the people around you. So thank you all for coming.
Thanks. All right, thanks everybody for coming. And again, if you've not been in the library, it's a little one-room schoolhouse that was moved on the property. So it's kind of cool to go in there and check it out. So thanks everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Or in just a minute.
Or in a few minutes.